Hafa and welcome back. One Micronesia podcast, another week, another show. And for this one, I am excited. Like I said, COVID restrictions are being lifted, so we're in-person interviews are kind of slowly getting back into the normalcy. So I invited over to the studio with me for this episode from Humanities Guahan. I do have Kimberly Kihleng. Kimberly, thank you so much. It's been a while.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, it's the first time I'm actually meeting you in person.
Oh my God, that's right. That's right. The minute I saw you, I was like, Victorious, how are you?
And then with us today is the award-winning poet and musician, Hinemoana. Thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Kia ora. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to know Hinemoana and find out more about how it all started for her and get to know her just a little bit and then find out where she's been. She's been everywhere around the world. I mean, talk about award-winning. So she has to be to have been through a lot to have the award-winning title next to her name. So we'll talk more about her. We'll get to know her in just a little bit. But Kimberly, let's talk about Humanities Guahan. Like I said, you guys have been on the show a lot of times. Talk about many projects you guys are up to.
Yes.
So let's talk about how you guys have been.
Yeah, we've been good. Actually, we're, like you said, we're just coming out of COVID and doing all of our Zooms, programming really via Zoom. And we were really excited. A couple of weeks ago, we had an in-person facilitator training with some master trainers from Oregon Humanities. And this really is to launch one of our new conversations projects called Reimagining Guahan, Social Justice Through a Humanities Lens. So we're going to be engaging in civic reflection conversations throughout the community over the next year and a half. And so we trained a cohort of 18 facilitators, and 4 of whom came from the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas. So I'm happy to report we're going to be partnering with them on the project, which is really cool. So it was nice to have them here in Guahan and then bring over our trainers from Oregon. So that was really an intense week, but we're looking forward to getting the Conversations project underway. And then we were so excited to be actually doing our first literary tour in over 2.5 years.
I know.
So it's just really exciting, and we couldn't have a more perfect guest writer and poet, Maori and Pakeha poet and writer Hinemoana Baker. It was a long journey to make sure she could come, given COVID restrictions, the fact that she lives in Berlin, Germany right now. So it's been a long process, but she made it. We were so excited.
Welcome to Guam.
And this literary tour was really funded through the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, which is a national foundation, pretty well known. It was actually funded over 2 years ago. But we've had to put it on hold, and they've extended everyone's grant projects because it's just, because of COVID, the inability to really, do the programs justice. So the title of our program is Singani Itauto ni Historiata, Telling Our Stories, Contemporary Pacific Writers in a Global World. So what we're really looking at is the way in which storytelling, which is so important in our island community, but also in Micronesia and throughout the vast Pacific, and in this case through music and poetry, can really build on an informed community, which, as we know, is the center of a democracy, right? Is having your community civically engaged and knowing what the issues are in terms of that. And what better way to do it here in Guam and Micronesia and the larger Pacific than through storytelling. It's these community and personal narratives that really get at larger issues in our community, like the role of oral and traditional knowledge and skills in a global world. Harder issues to deal with, like identity and migration, belonging. So we thought it would be really great to bring out a Pacific Islander storyteller and someone of such prominence to really engage with our community through poetry workshops and this community presentation, and to be able to give them voice and let their narratives be heard within a local, regional, even global world. Yeah.
That's amazing. Like you touched on a little bit as you were talking about the events, and pretty much the purpose of doing this is to kind of bring back the whole oral tradition type of thing. I mean,
yes.
I was fortunate to grow up with my grandparents, having to learn, hearing legends and even like family stories through them and knowing who you're related to, and they go down the family tree. Those are no one writes these things. It's always through oral, and so having to know that there's a program out there that you guys have set and have her bring her in and kind of like it strengthened that the program in itself. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and we've had some really great workshops thus far. So the people that were involved, really younger kids, 9, 10.
Wow.
But then also college level students. Just great. Just their stories are amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool to hear them put together these poems that are just so meaningful and really engage with important issues in our community. I think one of them, the big one, is identity, language.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, just really important stuff. So, yeah, so we're off to a good start.
And Hinemoana, welcome. And so your take on having to travel from Berlin all the way here and just to be a part of this program.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge privilege. I was supposed to come a little bit earlier, but things conspired against us, and I ended up coming now. And it's so great that we have the flexibility to do that. I mean, in a COVID world, and even before COVID, I don't think it's good to take any of these things for granted,
Yeah.
It's always a huge thing to be welcomed into someone else's land, country, no matter how far away it is. So I've been living in Germany for 6 years, and it's great. Berlin is an amazing city, but I can't say that there's many amazing beaches there, and it's very different culturally from Aotearoa, New Zealand, where I was born and grew up, and also very different culturally from here. There's some amazing things about it, obviously, and there's also some difficult things. It's a complex place, just like Guam. But yeah, the workshops in the last 2 days have been humbling. The generosity of the young people who took part and their courage, basically, to share the things they shared. Just because some random woman stands at the front of a room and says, please do this. I mean, I am pretty persuasive, though, I have to say. But yeah, it's been very honouring.
That's cool. So let's talk about tomorrow's event. What can people expect tomorrow?
So it starts at 6 p.m. It is at the Guam Museum Indoor Theater, and will be followed. Hinemoana will be giving a poetry reading as well as performing some music to her liking. Really be informed by her poetry, and it's a free event. So we're going to have her do her thing, right? The reading and the performance, and then we're going to have some discussion afterwards, so the audience has an opportunity to more intimately engage with her and ask her some questions and things like that. And then we'll have a book signing. We have one of her newest poetry collection, and so we're going to be selling that, and she'll be signing. And then a light reception, light refreshments afterwards.
Awesome. Yeah. And this is open to the public.
It's open to the public. It's free and open to the public. We are asking people to register, and you can do that on Eventbrite. You just get on our website or go on to our Facebook page. And we're doing that because we want to get a sense of how many people will be there. Yeah. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about the event. Guys, we're going to take, ladies, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to definitely shift the spotlight just a little bit towards Hinemoana and kind of learn about, how it all started for her in New Zealand and how she got into it, so all that. So we'll get to know her coming up in just a little bit. Thank you guys so much. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Hafidi, and welcome back. One Micronesia podcast. We're still here with Kimberly Kihleng from Humanities Guahan, and with us today, the award-winning poet, musician, Hinemoana. Hina, again, welcome to Guam.
Thank you.
And this is the part where we kind of dive in and kind of get to know you. As for the people watching and people who will be there tomorrow, if they're watching the podcast, they'll get to know more about Hinemoana before they see her tomorrow at the event. So let's talk about how it all start for you.
Well, oh boy. I te tuatahi, first thing, I'll just introduce myself a little bit tribally, so that place myself a little bit. Ko Hinemoana tēnei kei te mihi atu ki a koutou katoa, e mātakitaki mai nei. No Ngāti Raukawa, no Ngāti Tōrangatira, no Te Ātiawa Ahau, no Ngai Tahu Hoki. So on my dad's side, I'm come from these 4 different tribes in the North Island and South. And then on my mum's side, I'm English and Australian and German. So it's an interesting mix. But growing up, I have to say, my dad was a rugby player, quite a, well-known rugby player in some circles. And he really wanted to have rugby playing kids. but he ended up with 3 daughters who, one of us is a really good sports person, but it wasn't me. So I just kind of started with poetry and writing at a very young age. I wrote, like, I can remember stealing my sister's old typewriter and typing out like a novel. And all I can remember is that every chapter in this novel had a shipwreck. So I was very dramatic at that age. But yeah, so it started then, and then I don't know. I at university I did a course. Then I did my master's in creative writing, and it's kind of carried on music and writing at the same time.
And you talk about your dad wanted kids to play rugby and sports and stuff, but you kind of went into literature. And what made you? Was it something that? What was it about literature?
I don't know. I'm just built that way. Something about me. I just love language and I love sound. So I guess, to be honest, both my love of poetry and my love of music are kind of subsets of my love of sound overall. I'm a bit of a geek. Like I was just saying, I used to work in radio for a while. I still love radio. And sound in general, like for some people, sound is kind of something that exists in the background. Or for some, of course, who are not hearing people, it's a very different situation. But for me, I'm a hearing person, and sound to me is always at the front. And I don't know, I'm just fascinated, like the sounds of what's happening here, the sounds in my hotel, at night the frogs, in the daytime the birds and the people playing beach volleyball. It's all like, that is all music to me, yeah.
Wow. So let's talk about your writing process, and has it changed over the years, or you always had that fixation on like writing about life and culture?
Shipwrecks. It's funny, my first book was kind of identity oriented, so touching on what you were saying, Kimberly. And I guess that's in a lot of my stuff, being a person of mixed background and a person also like in Aotearoa. The vast majority of people who speak Māori did not learn it, did not grow up speaking it. It's not their native language because, colonisation. So I learned it as an adult, like many people, and I learned it at a university as well as another, 3 or 4 different courses. So I write a lot about that because language is my thing, and having lost the language, my family have worked hard to regain it, some of us. My father still doesn't really speak Māori. He's my Māori parent, but he was of that generation that were punished for speaking it. So yeah, those of us who speak it nowadays, still the majority didn't grow up speaking it. So we have to really work hard to bring that back. And so there's there's identity, and I guess I try and be like hilariously funny as well, Vic, There's the odd terrible dad joke in the books and also in the show. I'm not a comedian, but people seem to think I'm quite a funny person, so I just bust that out and surprise them, give them a little bit extra for their money.
That's a good mix. You talk about having that kind of like a serious note, but at the same time you throw in the little jokes on the side during your presentation.
To me, that combination is quite a killer combination.
It is.
You can get people kind of laughing and smiling, and then you kind of hit them with a bit of reality, and then back to the laughing and smiling. It's because that's what life is for me. It's not neutral. It's not regular. It's kind of like this, and that's what makes it kind of worth living for me. Oh, sorry, that was my wedding ring.
So talk about the presentation tomorrow, and what can people expect from you?
Apart from the hilarious jokes. Yeah. So what I normally do is a combination of poems and song. I just bought a most amazing guitar from the music shop here on Guam. Yay. So I'm gonna bust that out. First performance tomorrow, and so it's kind of folky, storytelling type songs. I also have some traditional Māori instruments that I play in a mediocre fashion, when I compare myself to the people who really play them, but they're still very beautiful. And again, it's all part of reviving that orchestra, reviving those voices. And the poetry itself, some of it is a little bit challenging, I guess, in terms of density of language, but mostly I just want people to let it wash over them. And yeah, other poems are more narrative, more storytelling, as you were saying, Kimberly. But I think sometimes we underestimate what people are able to follow in terms of story. Like, you know, it's not that this Hollywood Disney story arc is the only way of telling stories, you know. Sometimes just the repetition of a sound or the repetition of a syllable can have huge impact on somebody. So I don't underestimate my audiences on that level. I give them a mixture of lots of different styles and language. Yeah.
Well, if you're watching right now, I hope you guys make it to the show, because you talk about that nice a presentation at the same time you're throwing in this little joke, and you have the music act there. So I think it's going to be very interesting and very amazing. At the same time.
Hope so. I really hope so. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that. Yeah, yes. I mean, people coming along and listening and watching is always a huge honor. So yeah,
that's awesome. Well, ladies, we're going to take another break, but when we come back, we're definitely going to talk about what's in stores for Humanities Guahan. Also, we'll find out where is Hinemoana headed to next, and what is, if there's another book coming out later. Are you writing another one? So we'll talk more about that coming up. You're watching the One Micronesia podcast, and I'll be right back. Half a day, and we are back. One Micronesia podcast. So we talked about the event that's going down tomorrow. We also got to know just a little bit about Hinemoana. And at this point, we kind of want to find out what's next. We'll start with Humanities Guahan, who's doing such an amazing with the programs that you guys do when it comes to storytelling and everything about our islands, from Guam all the way to the Palau and all the way into the Marshall Islands. You guys are bringing back the storytelling, which is amazing. So let's talk about what's next and what are other events.
So we are also in the midst of planning our second Taking Root, Growing Youth Empowerment for Island Sustainability program. We did our first one, our inaugural program in 2018, and actually we received a national award for that program. Wow. So we're really excited about being able to bring it back and offer it again, and we're able to do that through the Governor's Education Assistance and Youth Empowerment Initiative, which is through ARP money. And so, we're actually in the midst of planning it all, finalizing our plans. We've already selected 30 eighth grade students. Wow. And these are students, Chamorro students, but also students from whose heritage is from the FAS, the Freely Associated States. And we're going to start with a summer camp that's about culture and the environment. So focusing on environmental issues and concerns, climate change, sustainability, but also really trying to engage the students in kind of a cultural immersion, so they know, more about their own history, their own cultures, and about each other, right? Kind of intercultural exchange. And also, compassionate leadership. We actually use Jane Goodall's Roots to Shoots program, which is all about compassionate leadership. So we're combining a lot of things into the camp. It'll be a 6-week interactive summer camp, beginning on June 20th and ending on July 29th. And then we just take them all the way through October. They do community action plans and action, engage in that, whether it's an environmental issue or a cultural concern. And then we end with a youth-led, youth-inspired sustainability conference. Wow. And we invite all the 8 middle schools in Guahan to attend the conference. And we also have a sustainability fair as well. So this is a huge project for us. And so, we're really looking forward to launching it. We've just are really, done a lot of work on the planning and finalizing it. And so we're really ready to get to work with the 30 participants.
That's awesome. I mean, it's you and everybody at Humanities Guahan that's just doing amazing things.
Thank
you talk
you.
about making new programs and reviving the programs.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
It's just a way to just give the kids something to do, and not only that, but to teach them the art of literature and storytelling and stuff like that.
And how it relates to environmental issues and concerns, and how they can actually take action and make a difference, right? So it's about empowering them to take action from what they've learned and experienced throughout the summer camp. So it's very interactive. We go on field trips basically every day.
Wow.
All over the island, where we're really working with scientists, cultural experts, historians, scientific organizations, and having their people come out and talk and engage with the students on these various field trips. So it's going to be really cool experience for them. We're really excited.
I'm definitely sure they're going to have a great time.
Oh, yes, I think so. I think so. Yes. Yeah.
So that's awesome. And then for Hinemoana, I mean, you're here now, and then tomorrow's going to be a big event for you. Everybody's going to have a great time. But let's talk about what's next for you. What's
I'm doing a PhD back in Germany at the university back there, and so I'll be continuing with that for another, I don't know, hopefully only another year or two. And at the same time, I'll be, now that things have changed a little bit with COVID, hopefully doing some more events and a little bit more performing than I have in the last couple of years. So it'll still be writing based, but also with a few gigs in there as well. So yeah. That's my immediate future.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, good luck to the PhD.
Thank you.
And like I said, hopefully a year, and then boom. So that way, I know it's a lot of work. And
it is.
It's thinking about getting a BA is thinking about moving on to getting a doctor's. That's it's huge, but that's a lot of work. But it pays off in the end.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I could never have imagined I'd do it, but yeah. I think it's it's possible for anybody if I can do it. So,
you got this. All right, ladies, we're going to take another break, but when we come back, it's the last part. It's the last remarks and the closeout and where to find Humanities Guahan with either tickets for tomorrow or where to register, stuff like that. So we're back with that. You're watching the One Micronesia podcast, and we'll be right back. Hafide, and we're back. One Micronesia podcast, the last part of it. This is where we do last remarks and say goodbyes and tell you where to go find registration to the event tomorrow and stuff like that. So we'll start with Kimberly. So tomorrow's event, one more time, let the people know where they can go register.
Yeah, sure. So this event is free and it's open to the public. We are asking people to register only because we want to know our numbers so we can better gauge food and just seating and as well. So you can register by going on our website at humanitiesguahan.org or our Facebook page. You can get them there as well and just register, just so we know that you're coming. And yeah, we just really hope you'll come. It will be at the Guam Museum Indoor Theater beginning at 6 p.m. And I'm sure it's going to be a lovely evening that our community will really enjoy. And it will also be educational as well.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So guys, get register and show up. I think it's going to be definitely an amazing event, and then you get to see Hinemoana's performance. And before I let you guys go, in the beginning we were talking about your story and how when it came to language, you didn't learn it at a later age. In college, you said in college, and it's crazy that not only in New Zealand but across the Pacific, when you talk about Micronesian, Melanesian, Polynesian, the culture is similar to what you guys are facing back there with the language. Kind of people are just learning it at a later age. It's not being taught here on Guam and elsewhere in FSM. From my knowledge, they're starting to teach it in elementary school. Oh, okay. But so what was your take on a message, or what's your take on how we should go about doing this and stuff?
I mean, I'm just so grateful to the people who fought for it before me. Like in the 1970s and 80s, there was a massive kind of revival because people were so strong and so determined then, activists. So, I mean, I would be an entirely different person with an entirely different life arc if I didn't speak my language. I sometimes feel so aroha, so sad for my dad and his generation who didn't get to speak it, because that seems to me like a real crime, like a real injury, generational kind of injury. So I think learning it and speaking it is part of a healing. And it doesn't have to be that you need to do it perfectly or you need to even do it all the time, I don't think. I used to think that. I just think it's whatever you can do, whatever small amount you can do to encourage yourself or others is a really important part of the healing.
Very, very guys. And Hina, before I let you go, any last remarks you want to tell the people of Guam and whoever's going to...
Well, tēnā koe, thank you so much for having us here, Vic, and tēnā koutou katoa. It's an honour and a privilege to be on Guahan, and I hope that you enjoy what I'll bring tomorrow, and that's some kind of giving back, a koha, a gift of some kind. So, yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you, Vic, so
there's
much
the
for
show.
having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Kimmy,
Really
thank you so much.
appreciate
And
it.
then
Yes.
nice finally have met you. And good luck to the show tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, guys, that's the show. One Micronesia podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one.